This is WKYT News at 6:30 on the CW Lexington.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Palumbo. Sam Dick is off tonight. Trending right now, a racially charged school assignment sparks controversy at a Lexington high school. Students in a 9th grade English class at Lafayette had to answer questions about To Kill a Mockingbird, and each question spelled out the N-word. That story is the most clicked on right now on WKYT.com. That's followed by an autopsy showing that a Tulsa police shooting victim had PCP in his system when he died. And the feds deny Kentucky's request for more time to update IDs. Here's what we're following right now at 6:30. A Good Samaritan robbed and attacked, trying to help someone he thought was stranded along Interstate 64. WKYT's Victor Puente has the latest from Franklin County. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security denies Kentucky's request for another extension involving the Real ID Act. WKYT's Sean Moody joins me live to explain what that means for you and your driver's license.
I had acute bronchitis from that, and then I've been having problems since. Been very sick.
That Nicholasville man says his Samsung phone caught fire last week, making him sick. Now the company is sending fire-resistant packages to U.S. customers to help prevent possible fires. WKYT's Hillary Thornton has more on why the man says it's too little too late. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey joins us now, and it's not too little too late for this nice weather.
I know, right?
Yes.
This is something
Lovely.
else. We've had a heck of a string of nice weather days out there. Today another one, but you notice what's showing up here? Look at the clouds that are starting to show up. So it's another fiery sunset out there, Jennifer, but unlike yesterday, these clouds mean business for a little later on tonight. Those will produce at least some scattered showers just ahead of a cold front. But hey, 2 nights in a row, give it up for this sunset that is showing up on our WKYT Skycam. And you've got the beautiful thin cirrus clouds that are stretching on into town right now out ahead of the aforementioned cold front. How about the temperatures? Southwesterly winds, many of us still 70 to 75 degrees, but I want to bounce this out a little bit to show you what's going on to the west of us. Look at this, low 60s, southern Indiana. How about low and mid 50s? And then the 40s start to show up to our northwest. That's that colder brand of air that is due into town over the next couple of days. So here's your front that over the next 5-6 hours will begin to cross over the bluegrass, over the Ohio River and on top of Kentucky. It will have a little gusty band of some rain. If you're thinking this is going to be just a big drink of water for the lawns, that is not going to be happening. Leading edge of those clouds, Jennifer, just getting into central Kentucky. Hey, when I come back in a few minutes, we'll put this radar into fast forward motion and time those rains into where you live across central and eastern Kentucky.
We'll see you then, Chris. A warning tonight for people who drive on Interstate 64 in Franklin County. Police want you to be on alert if you see a car broken down on the side of the road. Police say a man told them he was robbed and attacked after stopping to help a stranded driver on an off-ramp at exit 53 this morning. WKYT's Victor Puente is tracking the investigation from Frankfort in our top story at 6:30.
Frankfort police say so far this is the only robbery of this type they're investigating. They say they want people to be aware in case they should see someone in a similar vehicle needing help. That driver was getting off of exit 53 of I-64 around 8:45 this morning. Frankfort police say he saw a truck on the side of the road with 2 men waving for help. The driver stopped, and when he did, police say those 2 men attacked him, stabbing him several times before robbing him and taking off. They say those wounds weren't life-threatening, and he was able to make it to a neighboring Kroger where a worker called for help. Police say the robbers were 2 black men in a silver pickup, both at least 6 feet tall and one with a muscular build. They're asking drivers to be cautious and call police if they see someone stranded and don't feel comfortable helping themselves.
I definitely want our community and the public to help people. That's why I became a police officer. But again, use caution and use that common sense approach. If it doesn't look right, if something is absolutely out of sorts, you may not want to stop.
Frankfort police have put out an attempt to locate on that pickup. They tell me if a similar crime should happen in a neighboring county, they'll be made aware of it. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Frankfort police say they're also looking for witnesses who were in that area around 8:45 this morning. 2 Central Kentucky sisters are behind bars in Anderson County tonight, accused of robbing and beating a McDonald's employee after luring him out to a vehicle. The sheriff's office says last month, Ashley Beasley and her sister Christina Baker Sloan forced the man into a vehicle and took him to a nearby bank where they beat him, then forced him to withdraw money from an ATM.
The young man that was victimized had broken arm, some head injuries, and a possible broken rib. He was transported to the hospital that night.
The Anderson County Sheriff says charges have also been filed against another woman. They also expect to charge 2 men believed to be involved. A wild scene this morning on Main Street in downtown Nicholasville. Police arrested 33-year-old Jonathan Wilson after they say he crashed his SUV into 3 other cars. After the 3rd crash, police say Wilson then tried to steal a bystander's car, but wasn't successful. Police say Wilson fought with firefighters when they tried to check on him. Wilson faces several charges, including assault, DUI, and wanton endangerment. No one was injured. A setback today for the state transportation cabinet involving Kentucky driver's licenses. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security denied the state's request for another extension to meet the Real ID Act. WKYT's Sean Moody has been working the story all day and is live in Frankfort with more on how it could
Hey there,
impact
Jennifer.
you.
Congress imposed these new ID requirements called Real ID after the 9/11 terror attacks. Starting in January, Kentuckians cannot use their driver's licenses or ID cards to enter military bases. Now, this denial does not affect offices of the Social Security Administration, Veterans Affairs, or courthouses. If Kentucky is still out of compliance by January 2018, though, Kentucky driver's licenses will not be accepted to board domestic airline flights. The Kentucky legislature passed a law earlier this year at the request of Governor Matt Bevin to bring the state into compliance, but Bevin then changed his mind and vetoed that law, saying that it had been rushed. Only 23 states are in full compliance with the Real ID Act. 18 states are on extensions, 5 states are under review, and 4 states, including here in Kentucky, have been ruled non-compliant. 4 of the states surrounding Kentucky are compliant: Tennessee, Ohio, West Virginia, and Indiana. Illinois and Virginia are under extensions, and Missouri is non-compliant. I talked today to Kentucky's Vehicle Regulations Commissioner to help us break down the news. Commissioner John Mark Hack said the state is still working to modernize the state licensing system. He said even though the latest request for an extension was rejected, the state can reapply at any time. In fact, he thinks the state will be able to do something about all this before we get to that January 2018 deadline.
I'm confident in our relationships with the legislature that we'll be able to address a number of the concerns that were expressed by the Department of Homeland Security about our systems of issuance. And I think that as we address those, Homeland Security is going to back off of that deadline.
Hack said he also wants to make the state licensing system more efficient. He says these are changes they would want to make whether or not the federal government is issuing this mandate. He said the state should have the latest technology, including perhaps even technology that would let you have a virtual driver's license that you could store on your smartphone.
The end game that we want to create is one that maximizes convenience for citizens, enhances the security of our issuance system, and takes advantage of available technologies that people want.
Sean, one of the reasons Governor Bevin gave for vetoing that bill this session was that there are misconceptions about it. So where do they go from here?
Oh, they're going to do some public forums around the state. The first of those are going to be in December. Commissioner Hack said people expressed concern that Real ID was something like a national ID card, which he said it's not. There are things like that they want to clear up, and they also want to hear concerns that people around the state have and maybe want to hear the direction that they want to go. Again, they'll start doing those forums around the state in December.
Sean Moody live for us in Frankfort tonight. Thanks, Sean. And you can join the conversation by leaving your comments on WKYT.com or on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Fayette Mall is joining the growing list of businesses that will not be open on Thanksgiving Day this year. Last year, Fayette Mall opened at 6 on Thanksgiving night. But mall leaders say after talking to employees, retail partners, and shoppers, they decided it would be better to close on Thanksgiving and open at 6 a.m. on Black Friday. They say being open on Thanksgiving didn't have a huge impact on overall holiday sales.
We really found that it would be more sense to just open on Black Friday, bring it all back to there. A lot of family and friends and our retailers are really excited about the fact that they won't have to be there on Thanksgiving.
Fayette Mall leaders say stores with exterior mall entrances will have the option to open on Thanksgiving if they choose. A Lexington man who invented the backpack parachute is being honored with a bronze sculpture at Bluegrass Airport. Captain Solomon Lee Van Meter's invention back in 1916 would later save hundreds of pilots' lives during wartime. The parachute was around before Van Meter, but he is credited with modifying the device so ejecting pilots could maneuver away from their own planes safely. It'll be on temporary display in the airport lobby. A Nicholasville man says he is still dealing with problems from his Samsung phone that caught on fire. WKYT's Hillary Thornton has the story on how it's affected his health and Samsung's latest initiative to solve this cell phone crisis. An Alabama couple finds an SEC championship ring in their backyard. Find out what former football star is connected to the ring later in the Sports Buzz. Welcome back to WKYT News at 6:30 on the CW Lexington. A Nicholasville man says his Samsung Note 7 caught fire last week, causing problems that go beyond his phone. He talked to WKYT's Hillary Thornton about why he thinks Samsung's efforts to fix the problem are too little, too late.
Well, it's been more than a week of what he is calling a nightmare. The effects of his replacement Samsung phone catching fire here inside of his Nicholasville home still being felt.
I had acute bronchitis from that, and then I've been having problems since. Been very sick.
Those health problems sending Michael Claring back to the doctor today. Meanwhile, he says he is also dealing with smoke damage inside of his home.
More than a headache, it's been pretty awful. It's been a bad week.
That bad week starting after getting his replacement Galaxy Note 7.
I was just so angry because you do everything you're supposed to, and then you start thinking, did they give me what they were supposed to? Did they actually do anything with this phone?
His bad week followed up by Samsung Electronics halting production of its Galaxy Note 7 smartphones and sending fire-resistant packages to their customers in the U.S.
Much too little, much too late.
Claring says an attorney with Samsung has been in contact with him, but calls their efforts, quote, unsatisfactory, and says he feels they are still not taking responsibility.
Just because they're a big company, they shouldn't be able to treat people like this and put a dollar sign before the consumers who trust in their products.
He says their home here used to be a complete Samsung household, but all of those products, including appliances, have been or are in the process of being replaced. In Nicholasville, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
I'm in the First Alert Weather Center now with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey, and the effects of Hurricane Matthew are still being felt in North Carolina, where some places got nearly 20 inches of rain.
Yeah, and you know what? And a lot of the rivers there are still on the rise, and you're seeing the video there. Absolutely devastating in terms of the rain. It not so much the winds, rarely is with hurricanes that leave the lasting impression. It's always the water, whether it be, Jennifer, from a storm surge or just a tremendous amount of rain, and that's what you're seeing right there.
And we could see another hurricane.
We've got another hurricane. It is just on the edge of the screen right here. This is Nicole, and it is heading toward Bermuda. Thankfully, this is going to stay way to the east of North Carolina. But you see all the green here in North Carolina, southeastern Virginia towards South Carolina? Those are flood warnings that are still out right now. That's not precipitation. Those are flood warnings. They've got a high pressure that is on top of the region, keeping them high and dry right now. But that is a powerful hurricane. Look at the eye on that, heading toward Bermuda. We have a cold front heading toward Kentucky. It's getting into the western part of the state now. Some gusty rains, has colder air coming in behind it. That'll sweep on into town for the next couple of days. And introducing that colder pattern, some clouds, gorgeous sunset out there, and eventually we're going to get in on some rains. I mentioned the sunset was gorgeous. I just caught the sky cam over here out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, all of a sudden the clouds say, you know what, sunset? Hey, we're done with you. The clouds are filtering into central Kentucky. Farther to the east, though, look toward that western horizon right now for a picture-perfect sundown. Hour-by-hour future radar. Scattered stuff tries to show up late this evening around midnight. Look what happens late tonight, early tomorrow morning. A scattering of some rains, though the same model has been trying to hint at some scattered stuff, trying to ramp it up a little bit early tomorrow morning. So if you think there's going to be a big drink of water, it's not that kind of a pattern. You wake up to a little shower here, some drizzle here, and then some dry areas too. So a gusty shower or two tomorrow morning. We've got the gray conditions. It will stay that way through lunchtime. Then tomorrow afternoon, the sun will make an appearance. Temperatures, though, on the cool side. Cool wind will blow into Friday. Got to keep an eye on Friday night and Saturday. There's the potential to get in on a gusty shower or two during that time. And that's the rain part of the program. The temperature part of this, you want to see something absolutely crazy, look at the numbers ahead of this front, 70s, to just behind that front we go to the 60s, the 40s, the 30s. But let me draw your attention here to the bottom of the screen. It's 91 degrees in Dallas, Texas. Oklahoma City's down to 54 degrees. Can you find the cold front on that map? Wow. And as we get deeper into October, these cold fronts always typically bring a little colder air. That's just the change of the seasons. But it is a pattern that as I look down the road, and you know me, I like to look 2 or 3 weeks or even a few months in advance just to see if I can get a handle on what's going to happen. I think it's a pattern, Jennifer, that we'll start to see us skewing a little colder as we go into late October and especially into November than normal behind these cold fronts. So we may see some early stuff again this year as we get into November especially.
We haven't had good rain in a while.
We haven't. It was a dry September. It's been a dry October. We had that soaker of a summer, and then we just turned the faucet off at Labor Day. We'll change that in the next few weeks, though, I think.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Well, another former Wildcat could be leading an SEC program. Dave Baker has the Sports Buzz next. It's time for the Sports Buzz. Each night we talk to Dave Buzz Baker for an inside look at what's going on. UK football, Mark Stoops addressing Drew Barker's situation today. We talked about this last night.
Right, on the SEC teleconference. Basically what we said, he's week to week. He's not ready to go. Probably won't play next weekend against Mississippi State. And so we'll just keep an eye on that. I think they've got to have the attitude that they're going to go without him.
All right, the Mitch Barnhart tree is expanding.
Oh, my
we have another former Wildcat who's heading up an SEC school.
Okay, so we told you a week or so ago that Scott Strickland had accepted the head coach, the athletics director's job at Florida, which means there's an opening at Mississippi State. There's that man, John Cohen, who was such a great hire for Mitch here as baseball coach. Scott Strickland had made him an assistant AD. Jackson Clarion Ledger now says he's going to be the new AD at Mississippi State. He would join Rob Mullins, who's out at Oregon, Greg Byrne at Arizona, Strickland at Florida, Mark Coyle at Minnesota, and now John Cohen. Mitch has only been here like, what, 12, 13 years? And that's 5 guys that are athletics directors under him. That's really something.
All right, Tim Tebow making some news. He's trying out this baseball career, but it's something that he did off the field.
You could not make this up. And the Tebow haters, they hate this. He was being heckled after this game in the Arizona League, and a fan had a seizure. And you can see him standing there. He goes over and lays hands on this guy and prays for him. And all of a sudden, they said he pops up a few minutes later when the EMT guys were there. And the guy is thanking him profusely, and he says, I don't know how to say this, but I was a big Georgia fan. And Tebow says, you got to be kidding, right?
I said, that's okay.
You got to be kidding, right? It's the whole Lord works in mysterious ways sort of thing. All right, let's talk about the Cubs, speaking of working in mysterious ways. How about this? They've played like 850 postseason games, and only 3 times has a team come back for more than 3 runs down in the last inning. And last night, the Giants, who had won 10 elimination games in a row, they had a 3-run lead going into the top of the 9th. But guess what? It disappears thanks to the big Chicago rally here, and they are up a run going to the bottom of the 9th. And the former Red, here's the guy, though. Javi Baez is the guy, 23-year-old second baseman. I mean, he's the kind of guy that if he plays on the other team, you just want to strangle him, because he's showboat. You can see his emotion. It's real. But they come back and they take the 6-5 lead, and then the former Red, Aroldis Chapman, gets the final out. And so the Cubs now make it to the National League Championship Series after they beat the Giants 3-1. Game 5 between the Nationals and Dodgers comes your way tomorrow night. And finally, you hear about weird things all the time, okay? So there's this guy who played at Auburn, and he had 3 SEC championship rings. And his house got broken into, and he found 2, but he didn't find the 3rd one. His name is Steve Brown, who played linebacker at Auburn from 87 to 90. Guess what? They were digging up this house, and they found this ring on a tree root buried in the yard.
That's incredible.
I guess the guy had stolen it, decided to bury it or something. Auburn's all about those trees down there in Toomer's Corner anyway. It was just really kind of miraculous that they found it after all this time. So the people that found it now we're going to hook up with Steve Brown and give him his ring back.
You've probably given up hope, too. That's incredible.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. Sure.
All right, thank you, Buzz. Ahead tonight on the CW Lexington, an hour of Family Feud is next. Then at 8, Arrow, followed by Frequency at 9. And over on WKYT, Survivor at 8, Criminal Minds at 9, Code Black at 10, followed by WKYT News at 11. Take a look at this. Halloween is just 19 days away, and some of the most popular costumes come from where else? News headlines. Among the top of the list, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump costumes, with a Halloween Express poll showing a tie between the two candidates. Zombies and superheroes like Batman and Harley Quinn are also hot items this year. And even though scary clowns have been all over the news recently, they are still a hot-selling item this year.
It's definitely created a buzz. There have been people, customers all the time coming in talking about it.
Polls this year show princess costumes lost the crown to superheroes for both children and adults. Buzz, your son has a creative idea for his Halloween costume.
He's got the full camouflage thing, like they blend into the grass and stuff. I wish I'd known. I would have got it. But here's the question.
Okay.
Is Batman really a superhero?
$1 million question.
Oh, I don't know.
Because what is he without the belt, right? Or the Batmobile, right?
That's true.
I mean, Superman's a superhero.
You just unleashed a Facebook war right there, bro.
Not a war. I'm just curious what people think.
Huh? Batman, superhero? No. I'm dressing up as Buzz this year. You go as me? Huh? What do you think?
Yes, that would be the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
yes.
You'll do weather, Halloween.
Sure, we can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll wear green.
Why not? Hey, we've got some rain moving in tonight. Much chillier tomorrow, guys.
All right, thanks so much for joining us for WKYT News at 6:30. Our next newscast is tonight at 11 on WKYT.